All right, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Yes, it's your good friend Pozzible here, and we have a very special edition here at Pozzible Movie Reviews of a special segment that I would call WTF Japan. Yes, it is pretty much like that. This is one of those this is a salute to some of the strange movies that Japan has released into their theaters, and that has come over here overseas, either to like say places like Blockbuster, Video Paradise, Netflix. I was able to watch these movies, and I want to share with you some of my favorite bizarre movies from Japan. Now, first off, a few disclaimers. Number one, you have to understand that this is not a definitive list. This is not like a top 10 or the most way out there movies. These are just a collection of movies that I have happened to, by chance, to come across that were very bizarre. Okay, so at no point do I claim to be an expert in these movies. At no point do I claim that these are the top 10 or anything. I'm just collecting a few basic movies that are very strange. And they come from Japan, or at least I think they come from Japan. All right? With no further explanation, let me just say this. I didn't research the country of origin. So if it comes from some other place and I was not aware of it, I apologize. However, for the most part, they look Japanese. That said, I also want to make it clear that I will not be pronouncing a lot of the Japanese names for respect of their country and their people and for the sake of your ears. I'm sure you could probably listen to oh yeah, so that's how you pronounce their name. Other people, like if you were actually in Japan watching, you'd be saying, my gosh, he's butchering our language. I'm going to try my best not to butcher the Japanese language. I love Japan. I love Japanese. I love Japanese movies. They have a very distinct style. And this is something I've always understood since back in the 80s and 90s when I was watching movies, I guess, like Pokemon and even the 70s with Battle of the Planets, Gatchaman, as is known over there. But, Japanese movies, first off, they're very visual. That's one thing about them. They have a very intense visual style. There's an intense personality where it comes down to there's a sense of destiny and a sense of no matter who you are, no matter what you do it with all your enthusiasm. You do it with all your heart. And you get that a lot. I've seen that a lot of anime. I see that a lot in movies. There's more of a sense of, celebration of taking action, of being a part of something. Even if it's a small part of something, you're still a part of it. And they love that. I love that enthusiasm about them. There's a humor. And with Japan, I have to admit, nothing personal, but there's a great sense of overacting. You don't just act, you overact. When bad guys say stuff, they don't just say it, they scream it. That's rare. But don't get me wrong. We're not talking right now really about normal movies. We're not talking about everyday movies. We're talking about the WTF movies. The movies that will let you go, what the F did I just see? This is insane. This is crazy. And it really likes to dance on the bizarre a lot more than anything I've seen here in America. So without any further ado, let's find out the movies I'm talking about. Movies that will make you go, what the F did I just say? Okay, first off, Salvage Mice. Yes, it's kind of an interesting story because the title is kind of misleading. Salvage Mice gives you the idea that it's plural. But in reality, it's more like Salvage Mouse because you have this lady and her job, her destiny, her calling is to break into museums, break into rich people's homes, and steal property that belongs to somebody else. Ancient heirlooms that were taken from a family and, put on display because they were considered old. And if they're that old, they belong to everybody. But they don't really belong to everybody. They belong to a specific family. This is interesting. You have to remember, I envy this because I'm not in touch with my past the way a lot of people are. Some people, they're so in touch with their past, they know what their family lineage was back, hundreds of years. Me, I can probably go back 100 years, and that's only 3 generations, by the way. So 4 if I'm lucky. My sister's into the genealogy. So it's interesting to see this idea of people reconnecting and getting stuff back from their long ago past. If you've been in Japan all your life, if your family's been in Japan all its life, then obviously you're going to have a connection to something that's 1,000 years old because even though it was made back then, it's still your family, it's still your lineage. Her job is to steal it, but she gets framed because all of a sudden her partner decides to betray her, and all of a sudden she is considered a crook because now they're not just stealing specific artifacts, they're stealing all the artifacts, and they're all expensive, and she has to get it back. Her only hope is a karate chick who will become her partner in crime, reluctantly at first, I might add. This is the lesser of the WTF movies. I mean, it's going to get worse, but this one was actually pretty low-key. However, it's just bizarre seeing this lady as she tries to fight her way back to redemption after being accused of a crime she didn't commit. The funniest part about this movie, the funniest part about all these movies, is when you actually have somebody who speaks English. Because now they're using Japanese subtitles to tell you what the English person is talking about. One of the funniest things I ever seen, and this is a movie not Salvage Rights, not in this list. They were at a club, and these gangsters were pretending playing Russian roulette only with their own henchmen. So you point your gun at your henchman, you pull the trigger. They get into an argument, and one of the guys, clearly from California, makes these Japanese men very angry. He's like, "You speak Japanese! You're in Japan, speak Japanese!" But he's not saying that in English, he's saying that in Japanese. So it's even funnier. Salvage Rights is a see it. It's very low-key, not much fan service, safe for the kids. I don't know, I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but believe it or not, it's not easy to say that with Japanese shows. Okay, moving on next, we have something that is not safe for the kids. Swimming Girls versus the Undead. This is a WTF movie because of these women's obsession with swimming. They're getting ready for their swimming meet, which is tomorrow, and all of a sudden a vaccine is in the water. I mean, a vaccine is given to these people, but it's changing them all into the undead. It's a reverse, actually. They're not given the vaccine by a mistake, they're given the virus. And that is when people start going crazy and turning into zombies. But normal zombies? No. WTF zombies. Like a math teacher who, when he's a zombie, is describing the math problem of, the classic purchasing math problem of apples and bananas. So he takes out his rulers, and they're the sharpest rulers in the world, because he's chopping off people's heads and arms and limbs with rulers while asking them math problems concerning apples and bananas. And it's so funny because at one point, he juggles so well the rulers and an apple while asking math problems and taking a bite out of the apple. Very talented zombie. The most talented zombie you're ever going to see. And of course, the teacher zombie. The female teacher zombie who basically tries to seduce people, and she cuts open their heads and chops off their limbs. Typical zombie stuff, but bizarre zombie stuff. WTF zombie stuff. There's fan service in here aplenty, as you can imagine. But I have to admit, one of the worst parts about this is when they start to get ready and they're going to fight. First off, doesn't go very well. Secondly, they really go the distance. If there's anything I love about these movies is that everyone is so dedicated and so purposeful when it comes to whatever they have to do. They're going to give it 110% or nothing, believe me. Hilarious movie. If you haven't seen it yet, I do recommend watching Girls. It's Attack Girls versus the Undead. No, yeah, Attack Girls swim team versus the Undead. It's hilarious. It's fun. It's a little gross, not for the kids. All right, next up. This movie hasn't even come out yet, and it's already on the WTF lineup just because it's designed that way. It's designed to be completely bizarre because, let's face it, this is one of those superhero movies. I don't want to compare it to any superhero movie out there because it's just not right. This guy is supposed to be some sort of Heshna something. Like I said, I can't pronounce the word. I don't want to butcher the language, so I'm going to ignore it. What makes him the hero? What gives him his power? It's on his face, guys, and make no mistake, it is what you think it is. Those are girls' panties. You ever see the trailer? If you haven't yet, look it on Hulu, look it up on YouTube. It's basically this guy, he tells this girl in the trailers, "Give me your panties so that I can save the world." Yeah, what the F? I don't want to watch that movie. I'm not going to watch that movie, but I can tell you, because I'm probably not going to get a chance to. Some of these movies are very hard to find. I just found this looking at Hulu. I'm probably not going to be even able to see the movie. But if I saw it, I'd be saying, what the F, too many times. Okay, next up, Deadball on Netflix. I could not finish it. Always reminds me of Mortal Kombat. The first Mortal Kombat was excellent, very well written. One of the things that they said to kind of bring Mortal Kombat down to earth was the fact that men fighting in a simple tournament don't decide the fate of the world. And here, you can imagine that they actually do decide the fate of the world with baseball and with throwing baseball to the point where they can kill someone. The guy you see in front of you is supposed to be like the greatest pitcher in the world, but the one thing he did was he killed his grandfather. So he never wants to pitch again because of the amazing pitch he gave his grandfather that killed his grandfather because his grandfather wanted the best pitch in the world. So he's sent to juvenile detention for being basically a nobody, but everyone knows him to have this awesome pitch. He's the badass punk who's going to save the world through baseball. Yeah. Couldn't finish it. If there was ever a movie that made you said, what the F? That's this movie right here. Believe me, it'll make you go, what the F? Anyway, another movie. This one I did finish, unfortunately. Karate Robo. And that's as much as I can pronounce. Sorry, guys. I didn't take Japanese in high school like I wanted to. Anyway, you got this guy. He's part robot. He's part motorcycle. He's all cop. All hero. And the thing that makes me go, what the F, when it comes to this movie is the difference in time. You get the first hour where the young hero who rides this guy and controls this guy, he is a young man. He's part of the secret police. And then it's 25 years later. He's still wearing the exact same clothes, but he's now a limo driver for the mayor he hates, corrupt mayor that he put in office when he killed all the other people in the earlier days. And everyone's gone psycho on him. The way his friends who got fired, they went crazy, okay? And the movie does have some plenty what the F moments. Movies that we're going to go, huh? And it's like, really? But that's what this is about. You know, it's supposed to be that crazy. It's supposed to be that insane. There is, of course, fan service, but nothing too bad. I mean, this is definitely not for kids, but it's definitely not something you would think too much of if you compared it to other stuff that I've seen from Japan. That said, Karate Robo does get a pass on it. I don't recommend this movie. I didn't care for it. I didn't think the acting was very good. I didn't think the action was very good. The storyline was kind of off, and it was just all sorts of insane. That said, you know, this is actually a reboot. Even Japan does reboots, where they rebooted a show from 1974 and brought it into live action and gave it its, you know, natural Japan actions. Next up, Assault Girls. We've gone from good to bad to worse, and I think this is the last one. So thank you for hanging in there with me. But that said, this is a movie you want to avoid. Now, the problem with Assault Girls is not like the others. You don't go, what the F, because it's so bizarre. You don't go, what the F, because of all the strange things that happen in it. You go, what the F, just because it is so incredibly boring. This Arnold Schwarzenegger in the first Terminator had more lines than this entire movie does combined. Okay, with everyone. It is so boring and so repetitive that this one guy during chapter 3, I think, has to say the same line 4, maybe 5 times for no reason whatsoever. And what's his important line? That in order for them to defeat the big boss, they should work as a team. These are all 3 individuals. There's a 4th one, just so you know. But they all play in this video game area. So this is like people who play WoW, people who play EverQuest, if that's even still around. But, you know, World of Warcraft, but this time they're able to actually download themselves into the game and actually play it. And they apparently make money. At one point, they're accusing each other, one of being a mother who's trying to make money for her husband, who's a junkie, and the other one who's like this lonely kid, adult who still lives with their parents and stuff like that. Don't ask me about the person on the far right, far left, the one in black with the green light in front of her. She never talks. She talks like a bird. She can turn herself into a bird. But that doesn't make you go, what the F? It's boring, it's long, it's pointless. The most funniest part about this, those silly masks that they wear when they're shooting their guns and when they're outside or for no reason whatsoever. The best part about it is when they talk, they speak English, but they still give you subtitles for reasons unknown. Don't ask me what this movie was really about. I still didn't get it. Crazy, long, boring, tried to be something that wasn't, tried to be artistic, tried to be philosophical. In the end, it's just a bunch of people walking in a desert. That's literally all it is. That is Assault Girls. That is a pass. Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this special edition of What the F Moments from Japan movies. Tell me something. If you know a What the F Japan movie, please let me know what it is and whether or not, and please make it something that's, I can see. Something on Netflix or Hulu or something like that. Something easy to watch. Those What the F moments in Japan, those are awesome movies. They can be great, they can be strange, they can really turn you on, they can really turn you off. But that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you next time at the theaters.